right, good evening, everyone. We can all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, good evening, everyone. It is great to see a very large turnout despite the inclement weather outside. And we can get going with a very special Employee of the Month. I do not know if Eileen is here.
She couldn't stay tonight.
Couldn't make it, but as many of us know, Eileen, our deputy clerk and our registrar, is retiring after many, many years of village service. So we would love to give her the recognition that she deserves. So I will read a letter kind of as a collaboration with the entire Village Hall staff. So Eileen Musara has been an integral part of Village Hall for over 20 years. Many people think of Eileen solely as the person who oversees beach permits, and while that is an important part of what she does, is in fact just one of her many roles. She is the village registrar, responsible for recording and maintaining all birth and death certificates in Southampton Village. Eileen also coordinates many aspects of Cooper's Beach and handles the hiring of staff and personnel and assists in training the new beach employees each year. Being an avid beachgoer herself, she takes great pride in Cooper's Beach and has been instrumental in coordinating and judging the annual Cooper's Beach Sandcastle contest. She also handles park exceptions and special use permits, including fill permits. So when you see our beautiful homes and beaches on a television show or film, you can be sure that Eileen has helped to set them up. But beyond all of this, Eileen is for many the face of Village Hall and the first point of contact as her smiling face greets everyone as they enter the building. She has done so much for our village, and while we will miss having her in our midst, we wish her every happiness and an amazing retirement. Sincerely, everyone, collaboratively written from Village Hall staff. So we can give her a nice round of applause. I don't know if there's anyone else that would like to add anything, but she's a real special person, and we'll be very sad to see her go. So I don't know if any of the board or Russell or anyone here has any words, but we cannot thank her enough.
I'd like to add, as the village administrator and village clerk, that a lot of people know the face of Eileen, know the personality. It's a very right out front personality. But she has such a deep heart and care for this village. She really, really adopted Southampton Village. She thinks of it as her village, really cares deeply about all of the goings-on in this village. And I can't express enough gratitude for the way, when I got here, all staff, but Eileen especially, basically, kind of letting me find my way, letting me stumble a little bit, and then giving me a little advice and saying, well, you know what, Russ, maybe next time you want to do this. So really kind of a great way of kind of bringing me in when I got here. People don't realize that she deals with a lot with the day-to-day operation, including responsibilities financially, purchase orders, vouchers. She handles personnel issues as well as payroll aspect, time and attendance, and tracking, the 100 or so employees and their time records. We are going to miss her. I'm very happy for her, and I thank her for her service.
Thank you.
I'll just add a little bit. Well said, Russell. I haven't been here for a little while, longest member of the board up here. But yeah, when I did come on, she had been around a while even prior to that, so she was an invaluable source, again, for the public, but also people to help me with and advise what's going on inside Village Hall. And again, she's done a lot. She's helped a lot of people in and out of this building, and good years of service, and should be missed.
Thank you, Rich. Three other quick announcements. We also wanted to say a special thank you to Christina Redding, who served our Architecture Review Board for also many, many years. She's the second longest standing member currently on any board. And, I spoke to her today, and it's bittersweet, but, this was something that she really was passionate about doing. It was something and I'm sorry to say this, but really kept her going when her late husband passed, and she's been very passionate about bringing her family up in the village, and she is someone that has provided us invaluable contributions to our village. So we wanted to thank Christina as well for her service to the village. And then in addition, we have Jim Zahusky, who has also been stepping down, another person who has been invaluable to our village, who represents Southampton Village in every way. And we're also sad to see him step down, but wanted to give him the largest and most sincere thank you. These boards are hard. They're long. We know from being up here how much time commitment it takes. So for anybody who will volunteer his or her services to the village, it is quite the achievement, and mostly not thanked as much as these positions deserve. So we wanted to thank both of them as well. And then finally, for those here today, I wanted to introduce Alexandra Halsey-Storch, who's joining us as our new assistant village attorney. So it's nice to see, as we see some people step down graciously, it's nice to see some of our new village residents and stakeholders step up as well. So thank you, Alexandra, and nice to have you here. So, gentlemen, I'll send this down to Russell. So next up, we want to just kick this off, and we'll move to our presentation with Mayor's board's appointments. We'd like to obviously fill vacancies and appoint people to new terms. So I'll get going with the first. The mayor announces the following board appointment to the Zoning Board of Appeals and asks for a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. The mayor announces the following appointment to the Zoning Board of Appeals to fulfill the unexpired term of Jim Zahusky, and that will be Kevin Guidera. I do not believe we need approval for that, so we keep on rolling. The mayor announces the following board appointment to the Planning Board and asks for a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
And that's, do I need to say the name, or?
Yes.
Okay, that is Anthony Piazza.
Thank you.
And the first name, too, you didn't say Julius.
And then we've got Julie McCormick for the ZBA.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. The mayor announces the following board appointment to the Board of Architectural Review and Historic Preservation to fulfill the expired term of Christina Redding and asks for a motion to approve Sarah Latham.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And then one thing we're also doing is that we're going to add a new person to the Planning Commission. This is to fill my term, which we haven't filled yet. And this is going to be Tanoa Pender. She is a senior at Southampton High School, so she's going to be ex officio. But I think it's very important for us to connect with the younger generation. So to see a high school student on our Planning Commission, I think will be invaluable, so we can kind of tap into knowledge of Southampton High School and just be updated, because it's very, I can tell you myself, it is very easy to lose touch. So I'd like to make sure that we have a connection to other generations. So with that said, the mayor announces the following board appointment to the Planning Commission to fulfill the unexpired term of Jesse Warren, and that'll be Tanoa Pender. I guess all in favor?
Nope.
I'm sorry, if I get a motion here?
So you don't need a motion. You're filling the
that's right, it's my
unexpired
term, thank you.
Filling the unexpired term.
Okay, and then lastly, the mayor will ask for a motion to approve the following appointment for a one-year term ending June 30th, 2020. This is the attorneys for the Planning, ARB, and ZBA boards, Alice Cooley and David Kirst of Matthews, Kirst, and Cooley.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Can we have discussion?
After a second. Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion?
This is to replace Bo Robinson, who is graciously also stepping down in November.
I know that there were interviews this week, and unfortunately I wasn't at the interviews, but would have loved to have been consulted with that, either by phone or spoken to prior to their appointment tonight. So if we are gonna go with the motion, then I'll have to abstain, because I have yet to meet either one of them face to face. And so it'll be very tough for me to
Understood. We were hoping to have you at the interview. I know you were out of town.
I could have been available by a phone call, and that was not ever put forward to me. So, if we are going to move forward, then that's fine. Because, I could have sat in by phone very easily for the phone calls.
All right, thank you for that.
I was there for the interviews. There was one other person that we had talked about interviewing, and that hasn't been done yet, so I'm not comfortable with voting on that tonight either.
Just so you know, I'm not going to put her name forward. This is the choice that we have. You're welcome to vote no, and we can interview somebody else at a later date and maybe bring them on. But at this point, this is the motion that I'm asking for.
There are no other.
I just have one point of clarification. First of all, David Kirst, I believe, is spelled with an I, not a U.
I apologize.
And the board is required to hire an individual attorney, not a firm. And you have 3 different boards mentioned here. Is each one of them representing each board, or just trying to understand their task?
These 2 attorneys will be representing all 3 boards. So we can make a motion, we can cross out of Matthew versus
They are
Cooley.
partners, right? This is their company.
That's right.
Okay.
Can I use some public comment, please?
I don't think we have public comment at this
Well,
time.
I think you're operating illegally right now with your motion.
I don't think I am, actually.
Okay.
I know, John, we spoke, and I know that you had different ideas of who
Can't
you'd like
hire
to
a
see.
firm.
Okay.
As Mr. Bruin said.
Is there a motion to amend the resolution?
And who's representing what board?
Excuse me, it's, the meeting's here. Is there someone who would entertain a motion to amend this resolution and remove the section that says of Matthews, Kirst, and Cooley? Is there a motion to amend?
So moved?
Is there a second? All in favor on the amendment?
Aye.
There's 3 ayes. Is 2 abstentions?
Yeah.
Okay, so we now have a resolution that has been moved and seconded, amended, as amended. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
3 ayes. Nays?
Nay.
1 nay. Abstention?
Abstention.
The motion carries 3 yes, 1 no, 1 abstention.
So moving forward, the mayor would like to make a motion to approve the following appointments for a 1-year term ending June 30th, 2020. Attorneys for planning, A or B, ZBA boards?
That's what we just did.
Yes, okay, so Alice Cooley, David Kirst. So we're okay now, or
Yes. Yes.
appointed? We can move forward to board presentations. I'd just like to add one more thing. Obviously, we did change. Bo will be continuing through November, and we did change our attorneys for our land use boards. I just would like to say I was elected on a platform of change, and that's exactly what I intend to do. I know not everybody will be happy with that, but that's why I was elected. There's no way I'd be sitting up here if people wanted the status quo. So unfortunately, I know not all of our board agreed with this decision, but those are the names I put forward, and I am confident that the Village of Southampton will be very thrilled and pleased with our new attorneys. They are up and coming, they are smart, they are knowledgeable, and I have every bit of confidence that they're not only going to succeed, but they'll be excellent. So that's what I'd like to say. So moving forward, we've got the board presentations, Save Committee.
If I may, before that, Mr. Mayor, please, I'd like to ask council, since you've announced that you would like to retain, or you've agreed to retain Mr. Robinson for a period through November 30th, and his, essentially, this appointment replaced his, the term that he was being held over on, I would think that we would need a motion and a second to reappoint Bo Robinson, for a period of whatever you feel that would be.
I'd like to maybe talk about that during at another date, if that's okay. Again, just we'd like to have him continue on as a transitional role and to help us and have him leave on his own terms. So.
Okay. Do we have to state that at least, or just saying that he's going to hang over a little bit to advise and counsel? Like when we had Steve do the same thing with you. I think that's what you're talking about.
Yep.
Well, what it,
Your motion for that? Or?
what I believe is happening is that at the organizational meeting in 2018, Bo Robinson was appointed to a one-year term as the village attorney for the planning and ARB. So with his term ending June 30th, 2019, he continued on because the board had not made any other appointments. With making this appointment, we can certainly wait on it, but my concern would be that we essentially ended the employment
That nullifies him, you mean?
of the other council. That's my
So-
concern.
So, counsel, would it be advisable to then make a motion to keep him on
Yeah, I would,
simultaneously for a time,
absolutely.
And it could be at the will, and it could certainly be at the will
time
of the
limit?
board.
The time limit could be at the discretion of the mayor and the board.
Correct.
Is that what you're saying?
If you want to, but that's, to me, I realize that because we put a one-year term on it and we replaced the person who had that term, that essentially, similar to what, the planning board, there was someone whose term ended, they were continuing on. As of tonight, their term now ended, and that's my concern here, is if you want to keep
Okay.
on.
We can
Just-
make a motion till November 15th.
Okay.
Call it that.
All right.
Second
Is there a second? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, everyone. I appreciate it. Okay.
And just before we go on to the board presentation, if I may, Mr. Mayor, I don't disagree with anything that you said about change and all of that, and that's fine. And again, for me, it's not that these people aren't qualified or aren't right for the job. It's just the process at how we come to it. And there were other people that, you had put forward as a name, and for them to not be interviewed or even then considered, to allow the board to speak and meet that person, it's all about the process, and I've said it before, and it's just the same with this. It's the process of getting these people and getting to know these people and wanting to be involved in that process. So.
Okay. Thank you for your comments. Without further ado, I wanted to move forward the board presentations. Thank you for waiting, not just tonight, but for waiting 3 years to come back. We appreciate your time, and we're looking forward to hearing from you. So this would be Mackie Finnerty and Roger Blau. And Linda Stabler.
The crew is back. Really brought one back.
I'm going to start with a presentation.
Please,
Yes.
and also state your name. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Linda Stabler-Talty, and I'm going to begin with a presentation to show you the visuals of the new legislation that's being proposed. And yes, we started this project about 4 years ago and did some research, and we'll get to that when I begin my presentation. But I wanted to thank you, Mayor Warren, and the Board of Trustees, and the assembled audience here, and the people who've come to support this this legislation. We from SAVE, which is Southampton Advocates for the Village Environment, was a mayor's advisory committee for the environment. And we are composed of Roger Blau, Mackie Finnerty, and Susan Dubner, and myself. And we're here to advocate for new legislation that has come to pass after studying several municipalities on Long Island. We looked all around the country, in fact, but on Long Island we focused on Muttontown, Roslyn Harbor, and Oyster Bay because they seem to have similar situations and circumstances. We wanted to understand how they handled clear cutting, and we used their laws for a beginning template of today's proposed Chapter 107 entitled Trees. Residents are seeing the result of many property transfers firsthand, and they've been talking about it. They're 100-year-old trees being aggressively cut down, the loss of our greenbelt to maximize building square footage with no concern or little concern for existing landscape. To focus on this plight, we have a few before and after images that represent what's too commonly happening in our village. You'll see a few lots with new construction, all by different builders, lots that have been stripped by developers and owners who decided to clear-cut their property to maximize the coverage in the new construction. The aim of SAVE is to preserve our trees because they directly affect the health, safety, and welfare of village residents. Trees and vegetation reduce noise, they provide shade, they preserve oxygen in the air, they sequester CO2 and other contaminants, they help with drainage and the water table, and they also, very importantly, retain the bucolic rural atmosphere of our village that we know and love. So this legislation, which we called originally Preservation and Protection of Trees, which is now being proposed as a chapter, would require a permit to cut down any tree larger than 6 inches in diameter. Here's a typical home that was sold to a developer, and note the beautiful shade that's provided by this old growth tree in front that was likely planted when the home was built about 100 years ago. That's what it looked like in a day or two. So it's very stark and very telling what can happen when things are not protected. Here's another home, and please look at the depth of shade and cover between the home and its neighbor to the left, particularly. There's that neighbor now, starkly revealed since all of the old growth and different species trees have been mowed down. Looking to the back of the lot, you can see now through to Elm Street, which is a full block away. Here's a frontal view of the same house showing the depth of tree cover and foliage, and brought privacy and respite to the home. Here's the new construction with no room for any replanting, which could have been attended to by submitting a planting plan. And from the back of that same house, you'll notice all the screening and cover that protected both the back and the side neighbor. That's what it looked like after they finished cutting everything down. Now, here are 3 lots that were next to each other. There's 2 on either side and 1 in the middle that has been built on. And there are some wispy trees on the right that you can see. They're really lot line tree markers, and they're not specimens or natives. And yeah, they're going to grow in, but they're never, or it's unlikely that they will be like this stalwart one, producing enough oxygen in a day for 4 people to breathe. We all complain about traffic and noise in the summer, but let's also realize that trees help reduce the impact of these annoying effects while also producing oxygen and capturing pollutants. Here's the backyard of that home that you just saw with a beautiful copper beach, which has always been a welcome cloister from the summer sun and crowds. Here it was, a lonely sentinel after cleaning the lot. No privacy, no screening, not much. And here's the massive root ball to remind us of the copper beach that was lost. I'll leave you with this. And SAVE is so pleased to be here tonight to support and promote this new legislation and the initiative to help protect our trees in our village. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much as well. Do we have any additional speakers?
Yes, Mackie Finnerty is going to speak first.
Good evening, I'm Mackie Finnerty. We started this legislation, as we said, in 2015. So now we're over 4 years since we did this and started the research looking over the nation. Think of the amount of trees that have been cut down in Southampton in those 4 years. The lack of a previous board to pass this is a crime, really. I mean, just drive around and see what's happened to our trees and what that means to our children, our water, our air, and all the stuff that flows off these unplanted lots and into the streets and costs the village a lot to clean that up and clogs our drains all the time, costing us a great deal of money. You know, the best example in town, I think, is down on Meadow Lane. I can't drive down there without wanting to scream, where acres and acres of land have been clear cut. and essentially abandoned. It's impossible to know what's going on there, but just down to dirt. And those were 2 beautiful homes in there, one historic, beautiful landscaping everywhere. And now it's really the ugliest thing in town, and it's right between the ocean and the marsh, and not protected, it's just all flowing right in. We really have to do something. We can't have that happen again in the village. There's an old saying that was, are you part of the problem or are you part of the solution? I know most of you on this board, and I think you ran because you want to be part of the solution. Not because you want to say, well, I want to keep my trees, but because you want to do what you could do for this village. I think you all ran to do that, and I hope you'll show it in your vote for this legislation. This is an excellent piece of legislation. The attorneys did a wonderful job on this. This is a reasonable law. It's a way to preserve our trees. It's an enforceable law. The penalties are fair. And one of the interesting lines in it that I like best of all is when you apply for your permit, you have to put pictures in, and you have to take pictures all around to show what you would do to your neighbors when you cut those trees down. I live on Woolley Street, and one of the houses that she showed is directly diagonally across from me. Years ago, people used to do what they call boundary trees, and they've been very grown up. We had one in our yard that's this big, was a boundary tree. Unfortunately, went down in a hurricane. But across the street, they had 7 75-year-old trees as boundary trees along the line. They just got a bulldozer and bulldozed the whole thing. And those are one of the pictures that she showed. It was really disgusting. Down the street, a couple houses, there were 3 what they call specimen trees, very, very special, very, very old and beautiful and different. The Architectural Review Board told them they could not cut them down, and that was part of their permit. As soon as they got the permit, the bulldozer driver came, and he knocked all 3 down. They cannot be replaced. They were very old, and they were very special. And there were no significant fines. Nothing really could be done about it. And I was at the hearing when they brought them in, and they brought in the bulldozer man. And he said, oh, I didn't know. No one told me. Well, in this new law, there's no hiding anymore. There's no having a landowner pull something like that. You can't do that anymore in this law. Everybody is responsible. The owner has to tell the builder, everybody has to read this. And Mark had a good idea when I talked to him that this January, when people are going to be licensed to work in our village, that every one of them be shown this law. And I recommend that they also be shown the law about leaf blowers, because they all claim they never heard of it. So in order to get their license, they have to be given a copy and asked to read it. I hope that you will vote for this excellent law. It focuses on what we need to do. It focuses on what's good for the whole community, not what's good for you in your own yard. We're past that now. You see where we got with the environment, with everybody doing their own thing. Now all our laws have to be about what's good for the whole community. Thank you.
Mayor and trustees, I'm so thrilled that you've let us do this once again. SAVE was started in 2007, and we've worked over those years for the benefit of the village and feel strongly that it's our responsibility to protect, preserve the beauty and the uniqueness of our community for our children, for our grandchildren, and for all who appreciate the natural wonders of our village. I think we are at a critical juncture and have a singular opportunity to do just that with careful, intelligent stewardship. Just to recap, we at SAVE are just so thrilled to be supporters of this excellent law that's been written by the village. And just to recap the main points for everyone, the law will make it unlawful to remove, cut down, destroy, or substantially alter living trees within the village under specific limitations. And that particular limitation is that trees over 6 inches in diameter will need a permit. It would be necessary to apply for and obtain a permit from the building department to remove large trees. And best of all, the law specifically outlines fines and the need for replacement. And we feel that this covers all of the things that we had hoped for, and we are very positive and supportive of its passage. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Well, I'm last. Thank you, lucky stars. I'm Roger Blau. Mark Eppley used to call me the broom because I'd come in and answer any questions or give final comments that I thought might have been missing, or perhaps lend a little personal story to the legislation that you're about to consider. And I always think it's a good point to put ourselves into the picture of the descriptive that you have in front of you and say, well, what if it's me? Mark and I had a conversation about this, and many other people who I've seen around town. And I'll give you a situation that involved myself personally. And that is, I lived at 80 Post Crossing until just a few years ago. And in the back of my yard was a huge sycamore maple with all the bark peeling off and dropping in my pool, and it was really brittle. And it was as old as the house itself, built in 1903, and the owners had told me that, in fact, they planted it. And the brittle branch would snap in a windstorm, and another one would come down. And we had to send people up there to cable it. You know, I just wasn't going to lose this tree if I could possibly save it. Well, we noticed that in the main crotch of the tree, of course, there was rot, and that was the fundamental problem. And at some point, it would have to go. But it didn't. It hung in there. As long as I was willing, it was willing. And so we sold the house, and a good wind came along, and right where it was expected, the tree split. And a lot of other homeowners lost their trees in that storm. So the tree people were quite busy going around town, cutting up, sweeping up, cleaning up. And I put myself into that picture, because this is what you have to do when you're considering legislation, because these are all matters of practicality and not just words and paper like this we have to read time and time again to get right. And I said, what would I do? Well, you know, under the law that's proposed, I'd need to go out there, get a yardstick, take some pictures, have somebody stand up under the tree, hold the yardstick, it's about that big, and a couple of snaps where all that disease was taking place. And fortunately, with today's technology, we can walk right down and see Chris and Tin down at the building department, fill out a form that asks for our typical name and address, tell them the problem, show them the photos, print it out, leave it with your copy. And under this law, the reasonable side of it should say they should be able to come to a decision right then and there. You certainly aren't going to need an arborist to tell you that that tree has already come down on its own accord. And what you have to do is get someone in to chop it up, sweep it up, and clear it away. And that's how the practical side of this law should be put into place. Do you have to go down there and talk to Chris, Tien, or someone like that? Do you have to fill out a form? Yes, because that's called the process. And we're all obligated to the process like we're as obligated to drive 30 miles an hour through this village. Go outside of that process, and there are ramifications. And that's all spelled out in this law. I think it's very practical and it's very reasonable. You're going to have an opportunity to review it. I think this is a real true legacy piece. I don't think I'd want to be the guy who says, no, I want lots to be clear cut, and then come back from vacation when you're down in Mexico and find out that the lot next to you is clear cut. You want your name on the clear cut? I don't. And that's why we've worked 4 years for this. We were 2 years in the preparation of doing the research. Those who really, and we're here, you're doing what you're doing because you like this village, right? You're not just sitting there to be argumentative. We can do that over a Coke down at your shop. And we've probably done that a few times too. You're doing this because you want something. And what you want is what we have. You don't want it to die. So that's what I've got to say. If you have some questions, I can answer them. This legislation has been rewritten from what we had submitted several years ago, and I think what you have before you is an excellent piece. It really kind of blew us away. So that's where I am, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. I have a couple questions for you. Humor me. What are property rights? Would you consider yourself a property rights advocate? That's rhetorical. I'm sorry. And then, does this violate some type of property rights? I just want to get your opinion because we all know, where you
I
stand.
think this is the trophy piece for developers. What this does is it protects the good developers from the bad developers. It means that everyone has to go in and do the right thing, not just anything. You can't go in, you see everybody out here building these things and selling them for $15, $20, $30 million, and you come up from the island and you say, we're going to do that with a bunch of money from my aunt and my uncle and who knows who else. They come out here, they clear cut everything, they walk away, they find they've run out of money, run out of time, they can't sell the house because their dreams are greater than reality. And you have a clear-cut piece of land with a few of these sticking out of the ground. And people come in, and they know the difference. Our buyers aren't fools. I'm in the business, believe me. I've met fools, and they're few and far between. They're usually on the sell side, not the buy side. And so this is really a developer. Wayne's laughing. He knows this is on the development side, and it's good for developers. It's good for homeowners because your neighbor is going to trash you, and someone who comes in with the bad intentions aren't going to trash the people with the best of intentions. Because we have, as John will tell you, some of the best builders in the country out here building the best product you've ever seen. I see them every day. It's my job to look at them. The landscapes are as beautiful as the homes themselves, and that's what we're here to preserve. We want it to continue. Look behind you. Look at Lake Agawam. Those aren't scrub oak. It's all around us. And fellas, we took out the vegetation aspect of this because that seems to follow course, but what we're here to save are the green giants. They're great pieces. They took your grandfather's lifetime, your father's and yours to grow. Don't cut them down.
Thank you. Does the
Answer your
board have any? Thank you. Yes, you did. Thank you. Does the board have any comments or questions?
No.
With the public's.
If I could just, Gary Gillespie could not be here tonight, but he wanted to clarify some, so I'll just continue with some of his comments. I guess the couple of questions that he was asking is that he's a very, we have some expert tree staff. We work with Bartlett trees. And oftentimes, the tree work that needs to be done is tree work that, involves, potential danger or those types of things. What does this law do with regards to the authorities of DPW to maintain and/or determine whether trees are still viable or safe to be in place? That's the question that he asks. And yeah, we'll start. We'll leave that as a cliffhanger.
Okay. Hopefully I'll volume up.
Yeah.
So I guess if we'd like some public comment on this topic.
We have to open up the public as a public hearing first.
Okay.
It's actually not a.
It's a discussion.
Just a discussion item.
Just a presentation.
Okay.
Yeah, and a presentation.
No, I didn't know we had to.
Pull the HDMI cable out.
All right. Thanks, Charlie. Good job. Okay. If there's anyone from the public that would like to come forward, feel free.
Public comment?
We can move into that if there's no comment on the...
Well, it's still about the tree first, John.
This isn't a public hearing, is it?
It is not a public hearing, so we can...
Please, the audience has not been recognized by the chair, please.
All right, John Bennett, can I be
Please,
recognized?
come on up, John. Thank you.
Has there been any legislation? I haven't seen the legislation on these.
Please come to the microphone, state your name.
I haven't seen any.
Please state your name and your address.
John Bennett, 212 Windmill Lane, Southampton,
Thank
New
you very
York.
much.
That's my business. Sorry, Russell.
Okay, thank you.
I haven't seen any legislation on this. I saw an old piece of legislation. Has there been a? I didn't see a notice of public hearing. I just want to make sure that I'm not unaware of something that has happened. Has there been a legislation propounded and a notice of public hearing put forward for the legislation? So I don't really know what it says.
There'll be notice for the 14th.
There may be an entertainment, a motion offered at the end of the presentation or during resolutions to authorize the village administrator to publish and post a public hearing for a piece of legislation.
Well, I didn't see that on the agenda. And it raises a comment generally I've had about the agenda, the village agenda. I'm used to seeing and having available the village agenda well in advance of the meeting, and that's a real concern for people. It's certainly a concern from my practice, and it's a concern generally that I've called, for example, all week looking for the agenda for tonight's hearing, and it wasn't available until this morning, and that's certainly a change. We're speaking about change that I don't like to see, because it's always been available well in advance of the public meeting, and I would suggest that you should have the people's ability to be not only be aware of the public hearing, but certainly if there's going to be legislation that's going to be suggested for a public hearing, that should be available well in advance. Seems like there are speakers here tonight that were aware of the contents of the legislation. I follow all the local laws that are proposed by the village very carefully. So people have been talking about a public hearing that I haven't, people have been talking about a public law that I have no idea the content of it. So I don't think that's an appropriate way of going about things. Thank you. Right, so why wasn't this available? Somebody's telling me it's not on the agenda. And usually there are requirements for when it has to be laid before the board, and Wayne will inform you on that. I'm not making any substantive comment. I'm reserving comment on that, but there's got to be a little bit more transparency and more notice for what you folks are going to talk about. Thank you.
Thank you. Come on down. Oh, sorry about that.
Oh, no, she's just grabbed it.
Okay. And then it looks like there's 45 Skinner Street as well. I can't read the name, but...
Well, that's normal public hearing. I think we're still...
So is this public, the general?
No.
This is not public
yet.
hearing?
No, this is not public comment yet. This is still just about...
This is just further about the presentation, yeah?
Correct.
That's
That's the
correct.
presentation.
Orson Cummings, 57 Walnut Street. First, I just want to say thank you very much for all the work you've done. Okay.
Yeah, you don't
Thank
have to lean. You don't have to lean forward. It's a great microphone.
Okay. Thank you very much for the work you did. I think it's fantastic. I've followed it a little bit. Unlike the gentleman there, I was aware this was coming up, and appreciate your taking the legislation and considering it. I was deep involved in the leaf blower situation, as you all know. This seems to fit along the lines of where the whole country and world is looking in terms of what we can do to turn the tide, whether it's climate change or the aesthetics of the village. Every point you made I thought was terrific, and I can't support it more, and I think everybody who lives here would really appreciate it. And so thank you, and thank you very much. I'm all in favor.
I will keep in mind, folks, that this is a presentation. If you want comment for the record, if in fact we do have a public hearing, if the board votes to have a public hearing, and we do have a public hearing, and you want your statements to be part of the record of a proposed legislation, we recommend that that's the time that you would, express it on the record as well. So.
Is there anyone else who would like to comment on the board presentation? Okay, thank you. You can come up, say your name and address.
I'm Susan Burke. I live on Herrick Road, 175 Herrick Road. I moved to the village 27 years ago, largely because of the beautiful, old-fashioned, leafy, shady, quiet streets. And I, too, thank you for your presentation. It was excellent, well thought out. I so hope this legislation will be passed. I can't imagine how my life would be changed if one of my neighbors, who are very nice people and who wouldn't do this, sold to somebody who decided to obliterate all the trees in the yard and thereby reduce my insulation from their activities, from the neighbors' activities, as well as their insulation from mine. It's very important to the sanity of our life. Nobody mentioned these are where the birds live and other little animals. I mean, the trees are very important to our village and to its beauty and to the value of all our properties. So I thank you for entertaining this ordinance, and I do hope it passes. And thank you.
Thank you. Yes.
My name is Zoe Kamitsis, and I live on Herrick Road, also in the village. And I have a 200- to 300-year-old beech tree that when you go to Google Earth, all you see is that beech tree. And I live in total fear that should something happen to me, that whoever would come in to my little half-acre plot would decide that what was left of the property wasn't big enough for what they would want, and they would take that tree, and which is so dear to my heart, and say that it was rotten when it wasn't. And I think that there has to be some kind of a tree registry in this village for important trees that absolutely need to be really qualified as a danger to the house. But there are so many owners that are afraid of any tree falling on their house that they just take them down because their house is more important than the beauty of the village. And I just thank you so much for bringing this to everyone's attention, and I hope we can get it through.
Thank you,
Thank
Zoe.
you.
We just wanted to mention we're meeting with our grant writer tomorrow, and on that list is a tree inventory request. There's also efforts underway by the DEC for seedlings, 1 million to be planted. The town will be leading that effort, but I think the world understands the value of trees much more so.
We have several seedlings on our property that you can have.
Oh, good. Thank you. We're looking for native species of seedlings. So, a little different, but we'll take it. Yes, exactly.
Okay. Thank you. Is there anyone else on this board presentation? Okay. That being said, we can move to public comment. Anyone wishing to address the board can sign in. 3 minutes. Please approach the podium, state your name and address for the board minutes. We have Tim Marin, perhaps? You can come on up to the microphone.
Please, you have to come up and state your name to the microphone and your address, please.
Is this the appropriate time to speak about the window ordinance?
No.
No. We have that coming up.
And you're Tim?
Yep.
Okay, thank you, Tim. We appreciate it. So John Bennett, I don't know if you've already said your piece or would like to say something else.
John Bennett, over in the lane, Southampton, New York. I was under the impression that there would be a discussion item regarding a resolution to authorize my client to perform certain landscaping, curving, and pavement at the Village Heliport area at 2070 Meadow Lane. I did not see it on the agenda. This is the next-door neighbor, the neighbor to the west of the rather large expanded heliport parking lot property that wanted to donate a substantial amount of landscaping and improvement and paving, all at no cost to the village, with the appropriate performance bonds, maintenance bonds. And I was hoping that that could be discussed tonight. I'm not trying to say when it should be, but at some point I was hoping it would be discussed tonight. And I have Steve Naroda from Aries Design to take you through the plan again if you haven't seen it. The only thing I do want to add is this is nothing like, I saw some comments, people concerned this would be something similar to the Rose Hill Road situation, which couldn't be further from the truth. There's no transfer of any ownership, no transfer of any easements. This is literally a gift to the village. Will it benefit the owner? Yes, but will it benefit the village also? So again, I'm not trying to suggest that it should be heard or spoken about now. I don't want to interrupt anything, but I would ask that we'd have the opportunity to present at some point in the evening.
Hold on a second,
Is this
John.
what you're holding on to?
Yes.
In your hand?
It's,
Okay.
it's in our book, but it's not stated on the
What had
agenda.
happened
So
is that I think there was some last-minute editing that needed to be done. Unfortunately, I think there was, Steve had gotten some information to our village attorney's office. They put this together as quickly as they could, and literally, I had put all of these agendas in everyone's book. This came in, I printed it, added it to your book. It was going to be a resolution as part of the resolution package.
So, John wants to speak a little more about it in particular? Or
Yeah,
did you
but
say-
again, at your pleasure, at an appropriate time. I don't want to, you have a certain schedule?
Yeah, right now would be the time to
Yeah,
speak
I mean, you
about
can have a little more because it is in here.
If that's
It's just
okay.
not-
That's fine by me.
But this is something we're discussing as a resolution tonight.
That is correct.
Okay, so we are addressing it.
Yes. Yeah, it's,
The answer is, we are addressing it. We are addressing it tonight. Even though it is not on the agenda, I want to make sure we're not violating any protocol or legality.
No, anyone
or
can bring
transparency
anyone
to
can bring
Mr.
forth a
Bennett's point.
resolution.
Any board member.
Any board member, correct, not anyone.
So do you need a quick refreshment or I don't want to take up too much time.
We went over this, the last meeting, we had this whole thing, and that's when Jesse had asked.
Might have met hello, John.
An extra, 5 years, yeah.
Have
So
met
he
hello.
agreed to that, so he
Yeah.
was just waiting for the bonding and all the other,
Yep.
things that we felt as a village needed to be done to sort of cross the Ts and dot the Is, and I believe we got those today.
Actually, 2 days ago, our office received drafts of all the proposed license agreement, including the donation language, as well as the performance bond, even a future draft maintenance bond, along with the revised plans. I've reviewed them, and the forms appear to be appropriate. There may be a couple other tweaks that need to be done, but I think that they're just looking for this board's direction. So the draft resolution that you have before you is to approve, accept the donation, approve the license agreement, and accept the performance bond in connection with that. The performance bond is based on the estimated cost. They gave us cost estimates of the entire work. That includes the paving, the drainage, the landscaping, all that's to be done. The license agreement includes a requirement for insurance, and so this resolution would accept the donation, authorize the board to accept the license agreement and the performance bond, all subject to the finalization and submission of those documents, and upon receipt of those and our final review, the mayor can then execute the document and they can start the work.
Only one question that came up between your last presentation, in my view, I thought it looked very good, was if there was a replacement for the Japanese cedar, which was non-native. And I don't know if you recall, that was just a question that was...
Stephen Rhoda with Aris Design, Southampton. Referring to the Japanese cedar along here.
Right.
These are trees actually that are there now.
Oh, they're there now.
They
Okay.
exist today. Everything that's proposed is all native species.
We're good. Thank you.
The only thing I wanted to add, if I may, I took a glance at your resolution, and the performance bond is via an irrevocable letter of credit. We were just going to give a check to the village for the amount.
Either form.
Either form is, I just want to make sure either form is okay. I find that actually works
Prefer
out better
the
for the
check.
village because they don't have to track the life and the date on the letter of credit. So we're just going to write a check to the village and then
So with that modification or amendment, it would say irrevocable letter of credit or official bank check.
It seems like a win-win to me. Anyway, hope you all agree.
If you speak, just...
I'm done.
Okay. Otherwise, just take it.
The board was in agreement with it, with expressing paper last time, so we're all pretty good with it, Joe.
Thank you.
Thank you, John. Okay. So is there any additional, we're still in public comment, so if there's any additional public comment, you can come forward, state your name, address. Thank you.
My name is Peter Grealish. I live at 54 Post Lane, and I've been in the village since 1976 and have been in the tree business since then. This is the first I'm sort of unprepared tonight because I got a phone call about this, and I'm just wondering how I would know that this meeting was going on.
So essentially what happens, and a couple of things are being combined here, but not for any ill purpose. The village board often has groups or committees that make presentations to the board and say, here's something we've been working on. We would like, we'd like to tell you what it's about. We'd like for the first time to get the public to understand what we're thinking about doing. So tonight we had a group that's been working on something for a considerable number of years. They've made a presentation. This board then is going to weigh whether or not they feel it's appropriate and they like what is being proposed. They will then authorize me to put a notice in the paper that says there's going to be a public hearing about this legislation, and this legislation will be available in my office for the public to view. So what essentially happened is you had a presentation with kind of potentially a draft law. They cannot adopt that law tonight. They can't make it happen. It was just a presentation. If they decide that they're going to have a public hearing on a local law, that would be the time that people can come up and give comment, input, say, could we change this, change that? So that's the process.
Right. This is the first I'm hearing that. I had no idea. Obviously, I'm in this business. I talk to customers all the time about saving trees and also advising them to remove certain trees depending on the circumstances. At 54 Post Lane, I moved there in 1999. The first thing I did was probably remove 80% of the trees because they were inappropriate for the landscape that I was looking to achieve on a long-term level. I did save a lot of the foundation plants, and I planted them along the back part of the property. But there were, I know there were two big old Kwanzan cherry trees, probably one of my least favorite trees. People love them because they flower, but I see them as being problematic, okay? I did not want those trees in front of my property. I would have a very difficult time if I bought that property now and somebody were to tell me I could not remove those trees. So I don't know who has the authority to dictate. It would be like saying, what color do you want to paint your living room? Well, the living room has always been yellow, and you have to keep it yellow. I feel it's the same type of thing on a landscape situation. You might deem that Kwanzan cherry a beautiful tree, and when it's in flower, it's magnificent, and I agree with you. But I'm the one that has to live with the trees in front of my house. The trees are taking up the whole front of the property, okay? If you look at my property now, it's totally landscaped with beautiful mature trees, and I deal with people all the time that want to do the same things. Rarely do people want to take trees down and not replace them or have beauty on their property, especially in Southampton Village. This is like a landscape mecca of the world. So I understand your concerns about not wanting to take down old, mature trees, and I assure you, I talk people out of taking trees down all the time. First thing I ask them is why they want to remove the tree. First thing we do is assess the safety value of the tree, root systems, limbs over house, rot, and so on and so forth. So I think everybody's doing a very great job of trying to preserve things, but I think you have to also be concerned about, if people, like a Kwanzan cherry is not a natural native tree, okay? So I think it would be a little bit unfair for you to tell a homeowner that they have to keep that tree there. So I guess I'm going to try to pay more attention as we go along here to see what's going on. But and I'm all in favor of saving magnificent trees, elm trees and spruce trees and maple trees that are in there. I'm not advocating. I talk people out of taking trees down all the time. So I would just like to be informed of when these meetings are going on to just see how that would proceed and what the procedure would be to get permission to take trees down.
2 quick comments. So thank you for saying this. We're still in the discussion phase here. This is a board presentation.
Right.
We're not today going to pass any laws.
Right.
So we actually could use your help. There's a copy of the proposed legislation right there, and you're exactly who we want to talk to about this.
Right. You're welcome to stop by my house, 54 Post Lane.
I'd be happy to.
Okay,
I'll
and
be there.
see what I planted there and the way it looks. And there were trees that had to come down. I planted beech trees, Japanese maples, Norway maples, and totally landscaped the back border of the property with the plants that were too overgrown for the foundation. So I saved a lot of the plant material for screening purposes in the back of the property line. And this is what I try to repurpose plant material when people buy a house and want to try to, re-landscape it. So I think there's plus and minuses of what the direction what we're going to take, and I'd be happy to help you any way I can.
Thank you. We'd love that help. That's the good news. And the goal is not.
Just look at 54 Post Lane and see what that looks like after removing 80% of the trees because they were inappropriate for the situation.
And the goal is also to just replace what's taken down. So that's, I'm sure you would do that.
Doing on Ocean Road right now, we're taking down, I had to get permission from the town. I was on the phone with them today about removing an old sycamore maple, which gets a lot of canker and rot, and it's actually dangerous. And the the client is willing to put in a much larger tree than the town would to put in. And I'm actually waiting to hear back if a red maple, Acer rubrum, it's not a Japanese red maple, it's just called a red maple. It's a big shade tree. I'm waiting to hear back from them if they are going to, accept that as a variety.
Is that the Aquifer Overlay District where you're working?
No, this is street tree. I had to get permission from the highway department to remove a tree that was basically dead and replace it with another tree, large tree.
Thank you.
So I deal with the highway departments on a regular basis, and I go to them when somebody wants to remove a tree in front of their house, and we work very well together because most of the trees that I want to take down that is a street tree need to come down. It's actually saving the taxpayer money that the highway department doesn't have to do it. But so I don't want you to think that every tree person is a malicious person just out there to make money.
No, that's not at all what we're thinking. You're exactly who we're trying to embrace and work with, which is why if you would be willing to give us some comments on the proposed law that's right there, we would not only, that'd be great. We'd work them in. The other question I have for you is that how do you, I'm just curious and sorry to do this here, but how do you hear about things? Because that's actually, communications to the public is something we want to work on.
Well, of course, Lane told me.
Okay. That's how everyone hears about things. But is it the newspaper? Is it the radio? Is it social media?
I read the press. I watch these shows. I watch these shows on, on channel 22, I think. In the middle of the night when I can't sleep, I see you guys to 3 o'clock in the morning.
Puts you to sleep.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, you guys put me to sleep.
You go to sleep with some nice thoughts. We're the last faces you see. That's cool. Thank you.
But thank you for allowing me the time, and I'm going to try to stay on top of this and
please
be involved.
Take a copy of that, Peter. And
Peter, thank you.
And actually, we'd like your feedback on it as we approach the public
Yeah, I
hearing
don't
process.
think that's the one. I think they were all.
And also the public hearing is scheduled for a date we just
107?
Yeah.
just approved, right?
Mr. Grealish?
Yes.
At the risk of putting you to sleep. Part of our role.
This is a joke. I'm only
No, it's okay. Part of our role as legislators is to get feedback from all groups
I
and
just want to make sure we have it all.
So obviously.
Well, I noticed that everything was opponent. Everybody was here was
Exactly.
for. Listen, the worst thing I want is more bureaucracy to do my job. Okay, and that's just anybody is going to feel that way. So. It's just a matter of knowing what the procedure, if there is something put into place, I would suggest trying to streamline it and not making it more difficult for someone to for their business and have it be a burden on somebody's business, which would pay to a higher price to the customer also.
But that's the feedback we need, and the village administrator simply allowed this group to present tonight.
Right.
Legislation hasn't been noticed, to the counselor's point. What we need is the feedback from all the different constituents, of which you being representing a very important crew. So our next job, of course, is to pull together a group, similarly that we did for the leaf blowers. We met with every single prominent landscaper in the village, and we pored over the legislation for hours and discussed the pros and cons, and you can expect that from this as well.
Yes, absolutely. And I'm just curious, who would be making the decisions on whether a tree lives or,
We haven't gotten that far yet.
Right.
I mean, so this is really, Peter, this is very preliminary here. This is now the very beginning part of when the board does pass any form of legislation, this is how it begins. Open discussion, and then it's openly advertised, and then we have public hearings where everybody come in and weigh in on their thoughts of whether they like it or dislike it, or what parts they like or dislike about it, which you're holding, and who ultimately will enforce it, and so forth. All that
well,
gets
the next
addressed.
time I'll actually be more prepared. I'll try to, read up and see what you're trying to do.
There's plenty of time.
Make any suggestions that I possibly can, and, if this is going to happen, try to work with you as best we can.
It doesn't happen overnight.
The
There's
last
time.
page of the proposal you have in your hand shows you the tentative date of the public hearing.
Great.
So that way you have it right there.
Good. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Pete.
Thank you.
I just think there's been some confusion that this is
right,
and it's
Yeah,
not.
yeah,
It's
it's a
the
board
beginning
presentation, yeah.
discussion
Correct.
point.
Is there any other public comment? Thank you, Russell. If there's no additional public comment, we'll move to discussion items. Number 1, access control and security cameras, ambulance facility.
I just wanted to make the board aware that first let me start by saying that progress on the ambulance barn is moving very well. Has everyone or anyone who's done an addition on their house or built a home or something, when you get down to the end, all the small stuff and the punch list and all of those things seem to take forever, but we're doing well. SEC is doing a phenomenal job at keeping the contractors on task and making sure that they all communicate, and Steve can attest to that. He deals with those meetings all the time, and it's coming together real well. But one of the things that we're going to be responsible for doing, which was not part of the bid proposal, is we need to have access control and security cameras prior to us moving in there. We have narcotics and medicines that we have. They must be safeguarded, and the Department of Health comes in and makes certain that we have proper protocols and safeguards in place. So I just want the board to be aware that we are working with county bids and other governments. The town of Southampton is doing an access control in their town hall right now. So we are working with other municipalities in trying to get a licensed and certified through county or state bid vendor to put in this access control and cameras. It's not an inexpensive venture. It will probably be somewhere in the $100,000 range. But I thought it was important at this point, prior to having a presentation of a potential vendor, that the board be aware of it.
I have a couple questions on this.
Sure.
First is, I know we have access control at our current ambulance facility, and ambulance commissioner and deputy commissioner. Do we have security cameras at that facility as well?
Yes.
Okay. And then with regards to our current ambulance budget, we're obviously on time, on budget, and on quality? Yes or no?
On quality, until our architect and site managers sign off on there's some invoices that are being paid tonight. So you not only look at the level of work that's done, the quality of work, and they sign off and attest that it is done, not just completed to that level, but satisfactory as far as the quality of the work.
Because I thought we had a slight reserve for that. So maybe it isn't the full 100,000 if there's remaining funds in that reserve.
There may be some funds, but I'd have to look to see what our bond is allowing us, because this is not part of any of the bid specs that we went out to bid on. This would be outside of that. Certainly if there is any funding left, we also have, we kind of started out, if the board recalls, a little bit of a hole. There have been some changes. This board has approved some change orders that were within the allowable money that was in the bond. But this would likely be outside of the bonding. Now, if we do come in under what we went out to bond, we certainly would refund that part, and we'd have that savings on our principal and interest in paying off the bond.
Are there any other comments from the board?
Thanks, Russell.
Okay, thank you, Russell. The next is public hearings. This is on the proposed legislation regarding vacant buildings and storefronts.
This is what you...
So, Wayne, do you want to take it from here?
Make a motion to reopen the hearing.
Okay, good idea. I'd like to make a motion to reopen the hearing.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so with that said, maybe you want to take it from here. Would love to hear, where we're at with this and if we have any updates.
So this is a continuation of a public hearing you first opened on September 12th and continued last meeting until tonight. The first meeting, you really didn't have many commenters. The last meeting you did. One of those commenters was Morley Quattrochi, who, as you know, manages many properties in the village. He reached out to Trustee Parrish as to, based on this board's encouragement of him providing comments, who then in turn contacted me and gave me some comments, which many followed what he had said on the public record. I started drafting some additional changes. I can have those changes onto your desk. In addition, the mayor had some provisions from East Hampton, including their guideline book, which follows their regulations for signs. I think what was always anticipated, in particular the section that speaks to input, the part that said the building department is available for suggestions and resource assistance, was trying to take it off of what East Hampton has done, actually, and produce some sort of guideline book. I don't know if Trustee Parrish has reached out to the building department or otherwise, or to see how we can create one of these guideline books, but it's certainly something that I suggest that gets done. But in particular, one of the comments that were raised is to make sure the proposal, when the first question that was raised is whether the time period in which a vacant store is too long. Some other municipalities, like East Hampton, have 2 weeks where there's a vacancy versus the 30 days where we propose it. So that's one question which I'll need the board's guidance on. The other in this legislation, which we modeled after many municipalities, had to do with, we used some language that said completely screen the windows. We heard that it shouldn't be completely screened, in particular the doors, so we're making changes in that regard. There was also some provision to allow, in addition to any for lease or sale sign, that there be some provision to allow a floor plan of the building that could be placed in that advertisement section. Other than that, I think it sort of models what the other municipalities are doing. It does create some clearer standards, actually in statutory form. So I think you want to hear any further comments. And my recommendation, we keep it open and we can provide all those changes or any other ones on your desk so that you can have it in place for your next meeting if you want to adopt it at that time.
If I can add, I know that the mayor and some other board members had asked that I reach out to East Hampton to get their complete legislative file The hearings were prior to the current village administrator being there, so she is searching in her archives to find the legislative file and is going to share that with us. She anticipates being able to get that to us by next week. She did say that she's also going to summarize some of the issues that they have because they are having some discrepancies on what's enforceable and not enforceable, and they're going to potentially put some more clarity into their law. The term that is giving them the most problem right now is the term display. What is a display? There's a difference of opinion between the code enforcement officers and maybe some of the village board members as to what that definition is, as well as whether or not how well it will hold up in court. Is a display saying, "See you next summer, thank you for all you've done"? Is that a display or not a display? So those are some of the things that I've had a discussion with the village administrator in East Hampton. I will have that legislative file to share with this board, and also their comments on some of the difficulties, because they've had some with their ordinance.
I was going to comment, that was one of the comments came from Mr. Quattrocchi, is about what language, particularly, because you've seen, we're at that point where some stores are closing for the season, and you do see that, and so your input as to direction there would be important, so we can clearly indicate what you want to see and what you don't want to see. So some questions were, see you next summer, as opposed to, visit our store, or some other language is we should need a little guidance.
I'm not crazy about that language. I would like to see something a little done that sort of gives a better appearance rather than "see you next summer" or "thanks for a great season." I think that's something that we definitely can really look into wordsmithing it and having it be a little bit so like, "Thanks for everything, but we're gone." So that would be something I think that the board really could probably come up with a good way, waiting to hear back from East Hampton, and also, again, tapping into the Art Center, Mary Godfrey, and some of the other places that we have talked about, and also some of the other comments that we've gotten, and I think we have a few here tonight. So I think that we have some good things to really look into and add on to this that will make this so we don't get too much of a problem with code enforcement versus the board and the language and everything.
Okay. Thank you. I think it's a good idea. If there is any comment, we'd love to hear from it. We'd love to hear from you. Thank you. You can come on up, and then we'll take some comment, and then I think it is a good idea to keep it open. But I think the goal should be we should all work together to get this done, so we're ready to pass this at our next meeting to refine the definition and do the updates that you spoke about.
Did you get that East Hampton guidebook?
We had it last session, but I don't think it's here today.
Maybe might have been good for people to see. Oh, there it is.
Okay, great.
Okay, good. Anybody wants to see?
All right. It's all.
I'm Tim Marin, 45 Skinner Street, a neighbor of Rich. I've been a property owner of commercial property on Jagger Lane since the mid-'70s. I've acquired other properties on Jagger Lane. I also own the mansard on Hampton Road. The window screening proposition is put forth, and I'm glad to hear that you're researching further. I feel, and this is by no means a disparagement of the hard work that you people put in. I know most of you are almost volunteers. You get a stipend. It's a tough job. I've known the village board for many, many, many years. I insured the village for many, many years. The things that I find that concern me, I don't find any aesthetic appeal, personally, in a papered window. I see several of them around. There's one on Hampton Road right near your establishment. Harry Frank's old building, the Brady property, is papered. I just completed a fairly significant renovation on one of my properties on Jagger Lane. I did not paper the window. I didn't want to hide anything. What am I hiding? I got a building permit. I went about the work, frankly, working with the natural light in that building was a much easier task than having it papered. I think there's a vandalism issue that you haven't looked at with papering a window. And also, as a property owner who checks his property almost every day, I like the fact that I can look in the building before I enter the building to see if there's anything wrong. If I paper the window, I walk into a brown building. And that would concern my safety. Let me ask all of you, when you enter your home, you kind of look in the window to make sure that everything looks okay before you walk in? I do. I don't enter my home until I look through the window to see that everything looks okay. I don't want to walk into a vacant building and all of a sudden run into a problem. The ground floors issue, that was 108-2. All three of the properties that I own on Jagger Lane have an elevation above the sidewalk of anywhere from 4 to 7 feet. Elevation from the sidewalk to the window level, the bottom of the window level. It's confusing. That 108, it doesn't seem to address the issue of properties that are elevated. My properties are also at least 4 foot back from the village sidewalk, so that there's a patio along there. There's one space in a tenanted building. I have one 4-unit building and one 2-unit building. I have a vacancy in each one of the spaces. Is that a vacancy, or is it just unoccupied? Under insurance terms, it's an unoccupied property. It's not vacant, because the other space is occupied. So I think you have to delineate here, is a building that's got multiple units, one unit is vacant or unoccupied. Which is it? The other, one of the provisions in 108.4, you say the interior of the building shall be unobstructed, have an unobstructed view. But then you say it has to be covered. Well, which is it? Do you want to cover it, or do you want an unobstructed view? And I think the unobstructed view was being directed, if I'm not mistaken, Mr. Broom, toward the fire marshal, whether they wanted it unobstructed.
Right. That is one of the comments that came up before, and that's one of the reasons why the doors were to be left unobstructed, among other things. But also, this allowed the building inspector or fire marshal to determine if it needed to be further unobstructed.
Is the window display, it may have graphic design, but it's not required. And I love this. I haven't seen this word in years. Prurient. Now, if I put political advertising in the window, is that permitted? Is it prurient? Prurient? Can you pronounce it? I know what it means. Anyway, no seams visible. Now, take Harry Frank's building. All the seams are visible. You can't take a large window space and not have a seam visible. Lights. Lights shall be on. Now, no offense, to turn lights on all night long is a waste of energy and are really not environmentally friendly. And who's to decide what is on the signs? I mean, now all of a sudden, your board, a future board, the building inspector, the ordinance enforcer, everybody's got their opinion as to what should or should not be on that window. I think you're treading on thin ice. That's just an opinion. Owners and landlords are not the cause of unoccupied buildings. We don't pick and choose whether a tenant stays or a tenant leaves. We all want to rent our properties. We want to do it as economically feasible as possible. I think what you should think about is doing an inventory of the vacant buildings. Write to the property owners and say, we're interested in trying to find a solution to the problem. I don't know that you need legislation. I really honestly think that the property owners, myself included, are more than willing to cooperate, but let's make it logical. Let's not make it a confrontation. Let's make it a friendly cooperation. Try that instead of passing legislation, because once you pass legislation, you've got it forever. And nobody's gonna... What?
No, just stay here. He's got his own meeting.
No, it's once it's passed, everybody's gonna have, this board's gonna change. You know it, and I know it. It's gonna change in the next 10 years, 10 times. Somebody comes, somebody goes. You're not gonna be here forever. I'm not gonna be here forever. I'm almost 80 years old. I shouldn't be up here doing this battle. But I just think that it's a scary thing to get involved. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tim, for actually dissecting that legislation, as you did. Pretty
Thank you.
in-depth.
I thought that was a really good point, also about vacant versus unoccupied. I thought that was, thank you for reading that and pointing it out. And feel free to continue to let us know any of your thoughts.
Work with you.
Thank you.
I mean, I have a couple of really nice pieces of art that I would put in a window. But until I know what the law is going to be, I'm not doing anything.
Thank you very much, Tim.
Thank you, Tim.
Do we have any other comment? Okay, you can come on up. Again, don't forget to state your name and address.
Okay.
I'm Dave Johns, 14 Cove Neck Lane, Southampton. A little shaky. I had coronary surgery a couple weeks ago, so I want all the sympathy I can get tonight. Actually, I'm from the Southampton Artists Association, and I'm here with Jim Slezak. We're members of the board, officers in the organization. There's been some discussion. You mentioned artwork, and we're the guys who have a lot of artwork. We have about 100 members. I don't know if you're familiar with us, but we run 4 shows a year out of the Southampton Cultural Center, plus we run Art in the Park in July. We have a lot of very talented artists in all mediums, including photography. And we've had a brief discussion with Mr. Polero at a meeting about our willingness to donate art on a basis of, I mean, we can talk about these empty storefronts, but, you know, frankly, they're an eyesore. And we think we could help improve that. And we'd like to pursue that. I mean, we understand that the owners are the people who, you know, who have to approve this, who have to embrace the idea. And you mentioned artwork. We've got a lot of artwork. So I think as you consider options, one thing would be to consider working with us, where we would jury among our own members and offer artwork for any building owner, any storefront that would like to beautify. We don't have to fill the entire window. We're not looking to obscure the view of, looking into your property, as you suggested. But I think that we could help, because we have, design abilities as well as artistic abilities to, do an arrangement that would still open the windows. You'd be able to see in the property. So, we just offer that and for further discussion with the board about ways that this could be implemented. We understand there's a lot of players involved. It's not a simple thing, a little complicated to figure out how to implement this thing, but we're available. And our next show, by the way, is November 6th, Jim? Does it start? So if you'd like a preview at the Cultural Center of what we do, we'll probably have 125 to 140 pieces, 25 to 40 artists, and anyone who wants to come and get an idea of what we do and the quality of our work. So that's our presentation for what it's worth. We're happy to talk more about how we could help as a community service.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot. And I'm feeling much better, by the way.
Oh, good. Mr. Johns?
Yes.
I had a question for you. A little bit, if
Over here, yeah. Thank you.
would you be potentially willing to work with Mr. Marin and at one of his empty spaces and put together a pilot of what you think might be palatable in the community?
Absolutely.
No? We have a no and a yes. Yeah. Oh, good. We didn't know. This looked like a no, but if it's a yes, we'll take it.
And you could be part of the...
I just think it needs to go some direction.
Right. But if you pilot it out, then we can kind of see where the rough edges are and the what's not clear, to your point.
How well it works, how well we could work together to make it, make it attractive. And so, yes, we'd be happy to do a pilot program.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's just coming up to the microphone.
Are you good with that? Are you good with that? Just thinking
I think it's great, yeah.
He has to be here with it.
No, I know.
I'll go back to one of my original comments, was that it would be nice if we could do this on a level of cooperation rather than intimidation. And working with the artist group would be a delight, because that would add something. Paper in the windows, I think it says to the public, there's a vacant building. It doesn't do anything. I'm sorry. It's just maybe I'm right, maybe I'm wrong.
Thank you.
But I would be happy to work with them.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tim.
Good. Okay. Is there any additional comment? Okay, any comments from the board?
No, I'm good right now.
Gentlemen? Okay. So I guess we can make a motion to adjourn this to our next board meeting.
September 22nd. Is that a motion?
October 22nd?
I'm sorry, October 22nd.
Okay, making sure.
Thank you.
October 22nd, 2019. So I'll make a motion.
Here, a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Okay. Good job, everyone. We now have communications to the board. The first is the Community Baptist Church request for fee waiver.
We have a letter here from Bennett and Reed representing the Community Baptist Church. Our office represents Community Baptist Church with respect to the above captioned matter. An application was filed with the Board of Appeals seeking variance relief to unmerge two parcels and to construct two family dwellings in an accessory apartment within the Long Island zoning district. As much as this application is being filed on behalf of the Community Baptist Church to establish affordable housing within the village, we request that the trustees consider a waiver of the applicable application fee. Should you have any questions with respect to the foregoing, please do not hesitate to contact.
there any board members that would like to comment, or should Russell, do you think we should just keep on moving through? I think I can open this up to some comments here, if anyone has any thoughts or.
I think it's common in the town
Okay.
to
No, I'm all for it, but I
move
just wanna-
forward on that.
Okay.
So would we entertain a motion with the Board of Trustees waiving the application fees to the Board of Appeals for the Community Baptist Church?
So moved.
Is there a second? All in favor?
Aye. Thank you, John.
Thank you, John.
Second letter is from Rue Environmental on behalf of the Lake Agawam Conservancy permit variance fee waiver. Rue Environmental Engineering, Rue is submitting this request for a variance fee waiver on behalf of the Lake Agawam Conservancy. A permit application was submitted to the Zoning Board of Appeals and the Department of Buildings on October 3rd, 2019 for the removal of water lilies and the installation of aerators within Lake Agawam. Lake Agawam Conservancy is requesting a variance fee waiver since the focus of this project is a public water quality improvement project. The following members of the Lake Agawam Conservancy have agreed to install a power source on their property to support the operation of the aerators. If you have any questions, please contact Rue.
Well, I think we should ask how many an aerator equals a bubbler, and we've had an issue in that we haven't had enough bubblers because we had to go through private property. So this is a good thing, in my view, but.
This isn't really to determine whether or not it's permitted. They're asking for a waiver of the fee to make their presentation in front of the Zoning Board of
Just want to
Appeals.
clarify it. They're for special wetland permit application fees, not variances.
I'm also for this. Either way, the money that they save is going to go back into the community. So I'm fine doing it, giving positive incentive for people to do special projects, reduce fish kills, things like that. So happy to make a motion. Or Russell, if you want to kick it off.
Wetland, what are the fees that are generated? Just what are we giving up?
Well, the question that the building department also asked, which they would, wanted some clarification on, is this one application of $750, or is it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 applications of $750 apiece? I would defer to council, but that's.
Well, my understanding is they actually submitted one fee already. I think the building department may have processed that of $750.
Okay.
So I think what you're waiving is the remaining fees for the other 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 property owners that are involved with this application.
Because they're giving up their property to allow us to
Well, most
install.
importantly, this application is being put forth by the Lake Agawam Conservancy, the not-for-profit organization that is doing this, and they are trying to utilize these property owners as the connection where the aerators and the power source for the aerators would come from.
But the property owner still allows somebody else to go onto their property to install the power to support the aerator, so.
Exactly.
Seems like
They're authorizing the not-for-profit organization to enter their property and install these. The point being is the building department, I believe, has accepted the $750 fee, but you're being asked to waive the $750 fees that ordinarily would be required for the other 5 property owners. So whatever 750 times 5 is what you're waiving.
3,750.
That's right.
Nice.
That's great. Yes, so are there any other thoughts from the board on this?
Nope. Just wanted to see know what we were doing.
Okay, excellent.
Good question.
So I'm happy to make a motion to waive the $3,750 for these application fees.
Is there a second?
Second.
Question? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Like a question was coming out of there.
All right. Russell, I don't know if you would take it from here, the USA Endurance events?
Yes. We received a letter and an event application from USA Endurance Events, a non-for-profit 501c3, to present a new race experience to Southampton, the USA Women's Half Marathon. They partner with Tiffany & Company and Lululemon to bring exclusive race experience to an exclusive East End town which is why they have chosen Southampton to be our East Coast destination race. We are currently holding this event on the West Coast in Palm Desert, California, and we're looking at our East Coast destination for 2020. They are flexible on a date. They're looking to do it in May or the first Saturday in June. They're all Saturday race dates. And as you can see, there are there's a number of items that are being added here. I know that we went through quite a lengthy process in determining what we were doing or allowing the Hamptons Marathon. There's some question as to whether or not this would be the last year that the Hamptons Marathon was going to be permitted. I know that the event, one of the event coordinators may be here tonight. I know that she did speak with the Lieutenant Wetter of the Police Department just to give a little bit of a heads up that this event might be taking place. And it's they've not chosen a charity to they do raise some money, but again, it's a little discussion as to whether there's appetite from the board to have another event, a race event, in the village.
Is there anyone of the board that would like to comment?
Well, why don't we have her present
yes.
first?
Are you Leanne?
And I do.
Okay, come on down. I'd love to
I do
hear
have some
from
comments
you.
and questions,
Okay.
but let her come up and let's introduce herself.
I figured that was probably you.
Thank you. My name is Leanne Yarber. I'm the race director for USA Endurance Events, and I don't have an address here. I'm from San Diego, California. We're a nationwide race event company, and we put on races nationwide. We're a 501c3, and every place that we bring a race to, we donate back to a local charity. And we have spoken with the hospital here, primarily the Breast Cancer Research. I think it's the Ellen Hermanson Foundation. And so I've had some meetings with Christine, and they're looking very forward to possibly making this happen, being a women's race. We are the only race company that is exclusively partnered with Tiffany & Company and Lululemon, so making it very appealing for women. Actually, men can run too, so it's not just exclusive for, you guys can run. You can get a shirt that says, "I ran like a girl." It's really cute. It's a Lululemon shirt, and we do have gender-specific shirts, but it's not just that. We also have all kinds of other great stuff. So, like I said, we picked our course on the West Coast to be Palm Desert. And the reason why we did that instead of being in Beverly Hills or in Hollywood or LA was because when we partnered with Tiffany & Company, we wanted to keep it boutique and small, and they really liked that idea. And so that's why we went a few hours outside the city to a very, for a lack of better terms, bougie area in Southern California, which is Palm Desert or Palm Springs. So
air as well.
That's right. Thank you very much. That's very true. And so that's why we've strategically picked the Hamptons too for our East Coast. We're a few hours outside the city, but we're not looking to create 10,000 people. We're looking to create just a few thousand runners, and we keep it exclusive to, just like I said, to a few thousand runners. It's not a cheap race to be a part of. We have it on a Saturday, so our idea is to bring in people from out of state. I have here, if I can present this to you. We have letters of recommendation. We have a race on the East Coast already on Martha's Vineyard earlier in May. And so I have letters of recommendation from the selectmen, one of the Board of Selectmen from Oak Bluffs, also from the Parks and Rec, and then also our current partner with this race in Palm Desert. So we have a letter of recommendation from them, just kind of telling a little bit about us and our professionalism in putting on events. But we pick a Saturday race. That way we bring in people from out of state. And our demographics are primarily California, Texas, and Florida, so a lot of people are going to be coming in from out of state. I'd say about 70% will come in from out of state. A total of about 90 to 95% will be from out of the area. So people will have to be traveling here. I understand that there's not enough hotel space, so we have already thought that out. We would push the hotels, inns, and Airbnbs first that are in the general area, and then slowly move over to Riverhead and then other options to get over here. On that Saturday, we have everybody pick up their race bib on Saturday, so they stay the night here Saturday or close by on Saturday night. Stay in the towns, eat, shop, and sleep over here, and to spend money. That's the whole goal, is to get everybody to spend money. And when you've got 95% women coming into a town where they can, they're coming here to shop and not just to run. The running part of it is an experience, but it's more of the stuff that they get. And did you have a question?
I'm so sorry. He's telling me I'm making too much noise. Trying to find your route.
Oh, the route is in the first few pages. I have, you know what?
And I don't mean to be rude. I was listening. I was just looking for the route while I was listening.
Loudly flipping the pages.
Each one of these. So on the first page of this, we understand that the Hamptons Marathon's in September, which is why we've picked May. And so this is a half marathon, so it wouldn't be obviously 26.2 miles, it'd be 13.1. So if you look at the second page of this, this is also subject to change if we need to change it. So this is what we kind of came up with. I actually spoke with Eileen last week when I came here, and she kind of helped me a little bit with the route. So that would be the course map, and then we would start it at the park, at Agawam Park, and then head out through Jobs Lane, down Main Street, Herrick, excuse me, and then you can see the rest of the course on the first page right here. But like I said, we can change those streets. We're not stuck on that specific map.
Can I ask you? All right, a few questions that came off the bat before you came up. So, what you answered pretty much. So you anticipate 3,000 runners? Is that
Probably this first year, it's going to be a little challenging to get that many people the first year. And we're probably thinking of around maybe 1,500 to 2,000 the first year, only because we're on a tight crunch. With Lululemon needs a 6-month head start.
Okay.
So.
How do you come to that? I see here you have the races and you got currently different six
Right.
venues that you, so what are the numbers generally that run at those venues?
Martha's
For
Vineyard.
3,000?
Martha's Vineyard this will be our 4th year coming to Martha's Vineyard in 2020, and we have 2,000 runners at that race. And then for the, do you want to know the other races
Sure,
too?
like, what's
San
your
Diego
range?
Holiday Half Marathon's about 3,000. The Jack and Jill Downhill Marathon in Seattle is about 2,500. Boise, Idaho was 1,000. So.
And you say that the majority of these people are repeat runners, and they go to each one of these. They're a loyal client base, if you will.
I'd say a number of them are. Our first year that we put out the USA Women's Race, which is going to be the sister race to this race on the West Coast, the one in Palm Desert, we have 2,600 runners for that race. So, and they're primarily coming out of just all over the place. But but that's our first year race, so we don't know yet the statistics on that. But most of our other races are repeat, and then word of mouth. We pretty much grow our races organically. We don't really advertise on TV or anything like that. It's basically just done by word of mouth, social media.
And your uniqueness, you say, is your who you're tied in with and who your sponsors are and stuff.
Yeah, for this specific race only. The other races that we have, like our the Jack and Jill races, are primarily for those who are trying to qualify for Boston. All of our courses are USA Track and Field certified courses.
Would this be one of them?
This would be one of them. So whatever anyone runs on this, they can qualify and use it for New York, which was another thing we wanted to do. We wanted to be able to hold a presence at the New York Marathon at a booth, advertising this race. Which is November 2nd, I think it is.
And you said it's not inexpensive. So how much do you charge a runner to enter?
It's $249 for the runner, which is not that much when you think about what you're getting. You're getting a Lululemon finisher shirt, which is $75 retail, and then a necklace, which is over $150 retail.
So of that goes in again. So that's how much you charge. How much with that do you usually raise, and of that, how much goes within your organization and to whatever local charity you choose?
Good question. So all of our sponsorship money that comes in, our charity gets 50% of that.
So
And then
249, we whack that in half. Half goes to you. If I'm going to do this simply, half goes to you, half goes to...
to putting on the event, correct. And then for the registration fees, it usually averages out to about 10% of the registration fee that ends up going to the nonprofit, or to the charity, I'm
So if
sorry.
you were to spitball a number, what would that,
Probably anywhere between, for the first year, we're looking somewhere between $7,000 to $15,000
to give...
to the charity.
To the charity of choice. And you've been in discussion with the church,
With the hospital, yes.
That's all I got.
Would you be willing to share the financials of the Martha's Vineyard and Palm Desert runs?
The financials?
Yeah, the financials split, the revenues, expenses, what went to charities.
Well, we haven't had the Palm Desert race yet.
Okay.
So that one's not until November 23rd. And then with Martha's Vineyard, we've raised over $40,000 to go back to the high school. For Martha's Vineyard, it's the high school, and also we've Big Brothers and Big Sisters, and this year we also the Red Blood Cell Foundation was one of our charities that was this year. But that was our first year for them. So we've raised over $50,000. I think it's been 40, somewhere close to the high $40,000 mark for the combination of those three. Those three.
One year or since you
for the last 3 years, yes.
The last 3 years.
So is this something you're looking to establish and have an ongoing relationship? Is that kind of
Yes.
what you're hoping here?
Yes.
Because one thing, as was mentioned earlier by the administrator, we do, as you're well aware, we have the Hamptons Marathon
Right.
At the end of the season. One discussion that comes up with us, and again, in and of itself, this is a beautiful idea, concept, unique. I love what is different about it, quite honestly. And having a wife who does run in these things and would see the value in that. But as this group up here, we do have a lot of organizations like who approach us to add events and use our hamlet for that. And we do get a little pushback on that. It is tough. So I hope you realize that, and you do realize that is one of the things we have to weigh. Again, the timing of it, any conflicts, getting feedback from the public and such, and the people that because a lot of times we get from the residents that get impacted by road closures and such. And again, those are all the little things that we have to consider.
Right.
And again, we have people come up who, some people want more things and variety, and then some people say enough. We got enough things. So just so you know, that's kind of how I look at it and what the board's job is to look at it.
I don't think there's a community that I deal with where I don't have pushback between one or two neighbors.
Okay.
It just happens.
I'm sure that you've been doing this for a while, so I know that's nothing
Yeah, it
new.
happens.
But little disclaimer, if you will.
Yeah, San Diego especially, yeah. So, but I'm totally aware with that. And also too, I understand, police are a huge part of this. And for us, it's always safety first. And if it wasn't for our police, then I wouldn't have a safe course.
Right.
So I understand that they have to be paid for sure.
Yes, because that's one issue we had with some organizations in the past, where the larger the event, it is an incredible amount of assets that is brought together to provide safety. And that's our local, that's our chief of police sitting in the audience. That's our department, neighboring department, state police, county. A lot goes into it, and there's a lot of it costs a lot of money, and some have been reimbursed and some have not. So that's part of that discussion.
We make sure we pay our bills. Yeah.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
Do you work with the community to look at other charitable organizations that could be?
Absolutely.
Okay, good.
Yeah, absolutely. And like Russell had mentioned, we're open to other charities too as well, for sure.
Thank you. I was going to ask that.
Yeah.
Do we have any other board comments?
Nope.
A couple quick things. I think Rich does echo some good points about the fact that we would love to work with you, but at the same time need to kind of deal with some of the concerns of some of the community members. I'm an avid runner. I run a part of this route almost every day, so I know it well. It's a good route.
Yeah.
The only suggestion I would have also is prospective dates if we were to move forward potentially. I would think the earlier the better, May 2nd or May 9th, simply because we love to have business to our local businesses and hotels, and they'll be vacant then, but chances are they might be full the 30th or the 6th. So in my opinion, I would,
Get to Memorial
if we were to
Day.
move forward,
I
I'd
was
love to have
thinking-
that business.
I was actually considering the beginning as well, too, like
Right.
May 2nd, probably May 2nd. I liked the May 9th date, but I think there's actually another race in I don't know if it's West Hampton or it's somewhere, I think it's somewhere in the Hamptons. So there's another race on that date, and I just don't want to step on the toes of another race director. So May 2nd would probably be what I was looking at, if not May 30th. But if you think that it's going to be a little bit too late to, because the hotels might be full, we certainly would consider May 2nd. Yeah.
And then the other thing is obviously we want to have input from our chief and our police department because they do an amazing job with the Hamptons Marathon and with other events,
Right.
Ellen's Run, for example, and it does take a toll on them too. So we want to make sure that they're comfortable with it as well. Of course they would be, but we just want to get input from them as to how they can help and obviously
absolutely.
get guidance from them.
Yeah, I'd love to be able to work, hand in hand with the police department, also any kind of traffic control companies or people that we, to make everything safe.
Correct. And just a quick note, Mayor, on the dates that you're discussing, I do think sometimes, since we're talking about staffing and police staffing, that is before the highlight of our season, so sometimes it's tougher to get staffing for the police departments. They're not scheduled to come in as like our seasonals.
Yeah.
So if that's the case, then they're on, if we go to the 30th, then of course, then we're in Memorial Day, and it can be tough. So maybe into early June, or is
Yeah.
then it becomes so. But those are part of what
May
we
23rd
discussed.
this year May 23rd is the weekend of Memorial Weekend. So I picked May 30th. I
Okay.
skipped May 23rd because it was, I
you know better
figured that
than
you
that.
don't want to
Okay.
have me out here.
Okay.
But yeah, May 30th or
That's
May
just it.
2nd, sure.
Okay.
Do we know how many people run in the Hamptons Marathon?
What would we have, about 1,500? That means there were similar numbers.
Yeah, similar
It started, when it first started, it was a higher number, and it's kind of diminished a little bit, but I think we still had about 15, didn't we, Russ? About
That's
1,500,
about right,
I think?
yeah. I mean, the big issue with the Hamptons Marathon was the fact that it was run locally. There was an annual charitable donation in the range of $35,000, $40,000 per year. It's an awful lot of extra work for all of our our volunteer ambulance and fire department and all of them, and then they get promoters that are taking $50,000, $60,000 of the money that's coming in, as compared to having an event that the fire department's running, if it's a carnival or something like that, where they're getting all of
That's why I was asking earlier, how much do you actually retain of that? How much goes to your sponsors and so forth?
I think that's
what we
the
run into.
numbers I think we'd like to see, is we'd like to see
that's
the
what he meant by the
financials.
financials. What really is coming back to the community?
Right.
Because we've been told and we've been promised things in the past, and it's right. The one he's referring to, one marathon that when it began, it was run a particular way. Then they actually took on a professional agency to help run it and provide services, and that actually ate away a lot of what they were bringing in.
Well, we could
and then
certainly
consequently ate away
negotiate-
at the community what they get. So that's why its administrators going with the finances.
Yeah,
part.
we could certainly negotiate a number that would just come off the top so that we knew that would be the minimum. And then, like I said, we also give the person who's registering for the event the option to donate more. We also, like I said, give half of, or we can even negotiate that, of the sponsorship money that comes in goes directly to the charity, the beneficiary.
Just be mindful, and I think Eileen may have mentioned to you, but I don't want it to be a startling number, but the cost is probably the repayment of the police officers, TCOs, and other staff probably comes in the neighborhood of $20,000 to $22,000 is the reimbursement cost of running the race.
Is that all the agencies or just the village? That's all. Is that?
That would be the village agencies.
Villages,
I
because
don't
each one
know.
bills separately. The state police, we bring the state police, the county, and they'll submit a bill.
Right. Where you said that.
I don't know. That's what you're accustomed to in other areas. I can imagine it's inexpensive to run a race in California.
Right.
In San Diego. I imagine it's pretty similar to what we have out here.
And would you be open to changing this route, because we're taxing a lot of the same residents over and over? All these routes here, at least 3 of them I've run in already, and other organizations.
I would totally be open to changing it, yes, absolutely. Yeah.
And I don't know what works best, but
I know, that's a good point, because, I mean,
Yeah.
clearly, your longest stretch is because you want to take advantage of the scenery, and of course, that's why
Right.
you chose here.
But we can shorten that too, whatever.
But that is
you know.
that's what Trustee Allen is talking about, because those are the homeowners that come in and go, another one,
Right.
Again.
Well, let's put
you
it this way, there's not a bad street here,
Yeah.
and I don't have to worry about the hood, like in some areas that, yeah, it's just, I'm totally open to anything, to any street down here. It's, yeah.
Thank you.
All right, so thank you very much
Thank you.
for
Thank
your
you.
presentation.
I guess
Yeah.
flying out just for this presentation?
Pardon me?
You just
I'm
flew
not-
out for this?
I
From
did.
Cal- from Cal-
I did.
did you bring a sweater?
I did not bring this weather. It's hot back home, so.
And it's cold here.
Yeah. Thank you.
Well, thank you very
for
much.
making
very
this
much.
nice
Thank you. Thank you.
presentation and the effort.
Okay. The next communication to the board, Michael C. Hayes, request for change in parking at 26 Hill Street.
This letter was addressed to Gary Gillespie, however, really more of a board decision. He and his wife are the owners of a UPS store that's currently located at 50 Hill Street. They've now purchased the building at 26 Hill Street and currently renovating it. They are looking to have 3 street parking spaces in front of 26 Hill Street be designated as 15-minute time restriction, as opposed to what I believe there is a 2-hour parking. So that is the request. They have attached some pictures of what they're looking to do. If we were to consider it, we obviously would have to draft an amendment to our village code and hold a public hearing on it.
Michael, thank you for waiting. You've been here for a while, so we appreciate it. Do we have any comments from the board, or would you like to come up and give us an overview? I think Russell kind of...
I think a couple of small numbers. I mean, what we're challenged about.
Just wait 1 second. Yeah, thank you. State your name, and you can state your business address if you want.
Michael Hayes, owner of the UPS store with my wife, Mary Ann, and that's at 50 Hill Street, and we're the owners of the building at 26 Hill Street, where we're going to relocate the UPS store into, be owner-occupied at that point. We've got great parking where we're at. But in order to be what we came out of corporate life a long time ago, becoming sole proprietors of business, really owning your own property is the only way really planning long term. And the opportunity when 26 Hill Street came up, we were able to position that in a way that works for our business. The piece that was kind of missing, or the piece that we're really giving up, is actually great parking. I mean, within 26 Hill Street, we may be able to get 3 parking spots adjacent to where we are that are off-street. But that's, then you've got your employees and things like that. And that's about all we're going to get out of that. And our turnover, we have very high turnover. I'll give you an example. Our business does, we had 15,600 UPS store transactions in 2018. Wait, that's UPS store transactions. We had another 16+ thousand drop-offs where people are just coming and dropping off. So we have over 32,000 customer transactions. But they're short. I mean, they're not in there that long. When you're dropping off a package, you're in and out. So we have a high frequency of in and out. And being able to have additional parking in front of the building that would be in short frequency, and it doesn't have to be labeled the UPS store. I mean, could Gubbins benefit from it? Yeah, they could. I just think that what I've experienced in the last year, we've been going through the renovation process, my observation is that cars are locked and loaded there, and they're way over 2 hours. And I think any kind of signage that we can do that compress that or set the right expectation that can be a turnover would be really, really beneficial. And it doesn't have to be just designated for us. It'd be ideal, but being able to have those 3 additional spots to just even manage our customer flow would be tremendous.
So, but I mean, the numbers, I'll give you another number. I mean, one day in August, we did 450 customer interactions. So, I mean, it's a good problem to have, but I think I also need some help
I
here.
think I've dropped off about 15,000 return packages.
Can you open up a second store in the village?
Well, they won't let us. In fact, we were looking at another business to integrate, and they wouldn't let us do it, and we couldn't pull it into where we were. So, and then we also have the Sag Harbor store, and we just bought a building in Sag Harbor, which will provide us off-street parking for at least 8 cars. So that'll maintain itself.
You're moving? Are you moving in Sag Harbor too?
No, I.
Oh, okay.
No, that's
staying. Okay.
We have 2 stores, and so what we also do is we have the second floor is residential, and in the evenings we'll provide off-street parking to the residential piece, so that won't be on the street. They'll be able to just park in that area that would be used during the day for customers that's off-street. But we need. I think the right number is about 6 accessible spots. And we can do 3 off, and if we can somehow shorten the duration on the street and pick up 3 with 15-minute intervals, that would be ideal. So.
Building looks good, by the way.
Yeah, that's great.
I got to tell you, we got slowed down there for a little bit for about when we made some adjustments for the fire marshal came back. He reviewed it, and he came back with some more uplift than I thought we were going to get. But that's now in place. I mean, the sprinkler system, I think, will be in place by the end of the week or early next week, and then we'll be going full force to get the thing finished out. So we got slowed down by about 2.5 months in the fire sprinkler thing.
And your residential is 2 apartments?
It's 1 apartment. It's a 2-bedroom, 1,200 square foot apartment, single bath.
And it's not occupied yet, right?
Not yet. That's a good pitch.
We hope you think of a year-round resident.
We have already enough inquiry from some people that are already interested for year-round for actually their employees.
We really appreciate that because the village has a lot of apartments, and we're hearing and learning that people are now doing the 9-month, 3-month thing. It's really taxes our year-round population and our entry workforce.
Well, also with
we can't tell you what to do. We're just
no, but it's interesting because the other thing too with the New York State changes in rental laws is something on the residential side is a consideration, and I do believe that by putting a corporation between me and the rentor, i.e., that's doing employee housing, it actually limits my risk and lends more stability to a long-term rental situation for employees to have a place with their employer. So that's kind of what we're really identified. And we're doing the same thing in Sag Harbor. I mean, we're going to have a 2-bedroom, 2-bath, same situation, off-street parking. So.
Good.
So that's kind of what our goals are.
What are the hours of operation, and would it make sense to just have the 15-minute parking be during normal business hours?
Oh, yes.
Because you've got the movie theater, you've got Paul's, places that people want to spend more time.
Well, Paul's got some signage in front of his at 15 minutes, actually. That. Yeah. But I think, yes, I mean, to say it's between, we're 8 to 6.
Right.
You could say 9 to 5. I mean, you could compress that time. I think anything would be appreciated. And then, we're Monday through Saturday. I mean, I think we're open to discussion. Any help that we can get in regards to that is, would be greatly appreciated.
Is there any? That's a good question. Are other, when we do have several, as you pointed in front of Paul, several of the 15-minute spots, are there any inherent limitations to that, time-wise, or are they all always 15 minutes, 24 hours now?
I think out in front of the building, I think it's just 15 all the time.
15 all the time. That's great. All the 15 minutes, 15 minutes all the time. Right?
We're trying to stay consistent.
Yeah, that's why. So we should probably try to.
Thank you, Michael.
So that's it. Okay.
I think we'd be happy to help. We obviously need to move forward with the proper process, but it sounds like a good idea.
I'm new to this whole thing, so I need some understanding.
No, I don't think the board has an issue. Clearly, anything that's going to help facilitate
what I
your
need
business,
to,
all that
is there anything I now need to do, paperwork, or deal with Gillespie, or just wait to hear from you guys?
Just follow up. We'll take it from here.
Yeah, you just did what you need to do, and we'll discuss
follow up with Russell, I would think.
Yes. Okay. right, very good.
Thank you very much. We appreciate you waiting and for the good entrepreneurial suggestion. So thank you. John, I know we're moving to suggested resolutions, but if you've got some comment or you'd like to make.
I'm sticking around to see if you pass the resolution on the helipad.
Okay. So, Board, would you like to take a quick break, or would you want to keep on plowing through it?
Do you want to maybe do you maybe want to take that resolution out of order since since his client's probably paying him by the hour.
I don't think John minds. Well, that's why John would hope it's his last one. Thanks, Russ, again. I don't have a problem with either one, Mayor. If you want to take a break, that's up to you.
I'm fine taking it out of order if you'd like to get some rest. So Russell, I guess you can take it from here, suggested resolutions.
Yes, we entertain a motion to authorize a license agreement to permit 2080 Meadow Lane LLC to install landscaping, curbing, pavement, and other improvements within the village heliport property known as 2070 Meadow Lane and accept performance bond to guarantee work, or a performance bond or
certified check.
Well, it's a bond secured by
check.
Security is a check or letter of credit.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much, and thanks to Vinnie for turning that around so quickly. Thank you.
Thank you, John.
Okay, so we're going to move on to the rest. Entertain a motion resolved that the reading of the minutes of the public session of September 24th, 2019, and the special meetings of October 2nd, 2019, and October 7th, 2019 be dispensed with, and that those minutes be accepted as filed by the village administrator, and that the actions taken at those meetings be and hereby are ratified and approved.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Entertain a motion resolved that the claims for the warrant dated October 10th, 2019, totaling $254,598.56, warrant number 8 of the general fund, and $433,543.89, warrant number 5, capital reserve fund, and the village payrolls for the period from September 13th, 2019 to October 10th, 2019 be audited and approved.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
We move back to the resolution sections. Go through.
We need to, all in favor, or we need to move to the resolutions? Okay.
No, I have to read these, and then if there's any questions on any of the bills, and then we can approve. Alert All Corporation, $8,612. That's fire prevention supplies for the fire department. William F. Bates, $1,300.20, Medicare reimbursement. Boundtree Medical LLC, $2,116.13 as medical supplies for the ambulance corps. Brothers the Police Store, $14,300. That's for police uniforms. Buzz Chew Chevrolet Olds, $1,316.04. That's for vehicle parts. Cast Productions, $3,135. That's our videographer. Coastal Fire Systems, Inc., $2,360.45. That's floating litter basket and collar and Nomex protective hoods for the fire department. CSE Employee Benefit, $31,194.24. That's dental and vision premium for village employees. Nancy DePetris, $1,056.60. That's Medicare reimbursement. Richard DePetris, $1,056.60. That's for Medicare reimbursement. DF Electrical, Inc., $1,600. It's electrical work at the Cultural Center and a grant which is reimbursable by a grant. Finance Manager, $8,124. That's the 2019-20 maintenance agreement for our finance software. First Presbyterian Church, $3,000. That's parking lot rental. Fluid Imagery, Inc., $2,798. That's technical support for all village departments. Fowler's Garden Center, $3,419.66. Flowers, mulch, and grass seed for the Parks Department. Ranger, $1,264.94. That's for office supplies. J&M Diesel Services, $1,399.59. That's diagnosis, repair, and parts for the VAC truck for the Highway Department. James H. Lynch, $3,217. That's 430 feet of PVC conduit for Agawam Park. Johnson Electrical Construction Corp., $1,420. That's security services for the fire department. Leatherhead Concepts, $1,240. That's radio straps and chief shields for the fire department. Long Island East Printing, $1,300. That's 1,000 arrest jacket folders for the police department. Malvise Equipment, $1,495.60. Repairs and parts for DPW equipment. James McWilliams, $1,000. That's medical reimbursement. Morgan Auto Supply, $4,510.68. That's auto supplies for Central Garage. Patricia Munn, $1,300.20, Medicare reimbursement. National Grid, $1,188.47, that's utilities. Nelson Pope and Voorhees, $10,425.50, that's environmental consulting for village boards and staff. Norsec and Son, $13,250.90, that's refuse for the month of September, inclusive of Southampton Fest and the marathon. North Shore Golf Cart, $1,350. That's a golf cart rental for the Hamptons Marathon, reimbursable by the race, by the people who ran the race. Optimum, $1,401.72. Cable, internet, and data for the village. PSNG Long Island, $33,336.19. That's utility costs. Sunnyden Sen, $4,135.36. That's reimbursement for a tax overpayment. Shade Tree Nurseries, $6,590. That's 54 trees and bushes for Parks Department. Southampton Car Wash, $1,004.48. Car washing for the fire department, ambulance, and police department vehicles. Southampton Masonry, $1,235.36. Masonry supplies for the highway department. Vehicle Tracking Solutions, $1,271.47. That's GPS on our vehicles. Verizon, $3,700.29. That's telephone services. Verizon Wireless, $2,198.30. That's telephone services as well, mobile devices. VHP Engineering, Survey and Landscaping Architects, $3,110. That's engineering for the Railroad Plaza drainage, also reimbursable from a grant from CPF. Roy Wines III, $1,300.20. That's Medicare reimbursement. Wright National Flood Insurance, $7,980. That's flood policies for the village monument. SEC Vets Hall. Our capital disbursements, Alley Cat Signs, $3,895. That's Maltese cross sign for Hampton Firehouse, approved by a prior village board resolution. D2 food equipment repair, $12,791. That's for Hobart commercial dishwasher, also approved by a village board resolution. High-tech fire and safety equipment, $58,832.01. That's fire department turnout gear, approved by a prior village board resolution. Morton Buildings, Inc., $329,597.75. It's a general contractor for the ambulance barn. Pursuit Auto Emergency, $28,216.69. That's for the fire department's 2019 Tahoe. It's a conversion package for the emergency lights and equipment for the vehicle, also approved by a prior village board resolution.
The Hobart commercial dishwasher for $12,791.
Yes, we had a discussion a couple of meetings ago in which we talked about that the firehouse on Hampton Road does not have a commercial dishwasher, and therefore when they have the events and so forth, it does not meet health department standards, and we needed to upgrade it to a commercial dishwasher, and we passed a resolution subject to permissive referendum to purchase that.
It just says repair. That's what got me confused.
Well, it's equipment and repair services. So we use the equipment part of the company. Yeah.
Got it. Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Resolved that the Board of Trustees hereby approves the attached schedule of budget transfers to eliminate line item overages for the period ending October 10th, 2019. In the back of the resolutions, you'll see budget transfers in $5,042.50. That's for Cooper's Beach salaries, taking from Cooper's Beach overtime $3,675.99, and Cooper's Beach miscellaneous $1,366.51. Is there a motion to? Is there a second?
Second.
Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Entertain a motion resolved that the Board of Trustees approves the following purchase from Capital Reserve Fund, subject to permissive referendum. National Auto Fleet Group, $33,415.23 out of Major Equipment Other. That is, as we discussed at the last meeting, that is the last vehicle for which the board had asked Gary to go back and see if there were any energy-efficient, gas-efficient, electric combination vehicles that fit the need of the department. I know at the supervisors meeting, the mayor and Trustee Allen attended. Kenny Zay and Gary gave a subsequent report, and I believe that both were okay with moving forward. So I'll entertain a motion.
Are you okay with this?
Yeah, I just think that we need to look at our migration to electric equipment on a strategic basis, and we can't really pick at certain people who are now pulling out what is out there. And as Tony Piazza said, there was no comparable in the in the electric vicinity, but we do need to look at this as a group going forward. But yes.
Okay.
A long-winded yes.
Okay.
This is what, a pickup, not a utility vehicle?
It's a 150 size, right.
But just a regular pickup, Ed, not a utility.
Regular 150 pickup.
Okay, if you're good with it, then I'll be good with it as well. I know we had a effort here to do that, but maybe we'll have to do a little more homework, make sure we can find the right electric vehicles.
Number Tesla. I mean,
We're working on it. I did actually reach out to them.
We did.
I messaged them.
We did. They did their homework. There were no options at this time. But
at this price, too.
At this price, but in the future, we're going to have to figure something out.
I think as we go through the budget process this year and we work through, working on a capital budget as well, I think we can really kind of, do a deeper dive.
And this is replacing a vehicle, right? A vehicle is actually being taken out of service, an older one, which they put as much Band-Aids on as they could, that'll be auctioned out, and this will keep the same amount of vehicles in that central garage
And it's
fleet.
not a bells and whistles vehicle at all. It's bare bones.
Okay. We'll work together on finding the electric vehicles. We've got the grants that we also were looking into as far as money for electric charging stations. So, okay. I'm ready
So
to go.
moved? Someone?
So moved.
Second. Trustee Yastrzemski.
Aye.
Trustee Allen.
Aye.
Mayor Warren.
Aye.
Trustee Parrish.
Aye.
Trustee Polaro.
All right.
Entertain a motion resolved that the Board of Trustees hereby approves the following capital budget transfers. $396,000 from major equipment other to $97,500 major equipment highway, $223,500 major equipment police, and $75,000 major equipment parks. This essentially is a resolution that is authorizing me to make the budget transfers for the purchases that you approved at the last meeting. When we moved at the end of the last fiscal year, we moved the bulk of the remaining $975,000 that was in our operating budget to capital reserve. All of that money was moved into major equipment other until we decided where we were going to spend it. So this is just distributing money that is in capital reserve to the appropriate line items for which these vehicles and equipment are going to be purchased. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Entertain a motion resolved that the Board of Trustees hereby approves the application from Rapid Recovery Towing Limited as a tow truck operator for the Village of Southampton as regulated by Chapter 103 of Village Code.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Again, this is the third company. Generally, we do work with 3 towing companies who put applications in with the village to be on the rotating call when we have to call a tow company for any reason. It's repossessed by the police department, and we do bill the owner of the vehicle in order for them to get their car out of the impound. So, is there a motion?
So moved.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
That's all the resolutions we have.
Okay. So we can move to comments from board members. We can start with Trustee Yastrzemski.
I just want to take a quick moment to recognize a few members of our community that were longstanding members of our community and also longstanding volunteers of our fire departments. 2 that were in Southampton Fire Department was Duke McCulley, also very active in Sacred Hearts Church as well, and Richard Dictace, who was a long-standing member of Southampton Fire Department, who passed away, and they both passed away in the last couple of months. and Frank Zykowski, who was, again, a village resident. He was a member of Hampton Bays Fire Department, but again, a long-serving member as well. So I always like to recognize when we have our community members that serve our community in volunteer basis. So 2 of which are my uncles, Dick Taste and Frank Zykowski. Not Macaulay. But he has a very extensive family. So again, I just want condolences to the family, all family members, and thank you for the service for those 3 gentlemen to their community. That's all I got.
Thank you, Trustee Stremski. Well said. Trustee Allen?
Sorry about your uncles. Now they all got their wings.
There you go.
I'm good, and I'm sure you can catch everybody up on the other event. So.
Okay. Trustee Parrish?
Thank the SAVE committee for coming tonight and doing a great presentation, and they all gave great, passionate speeches about how they really feel and where they want to go. So thank you for doing that. Also, with what Rich said about a couple of the members, also I'm going to add to Morley Catroci Sr., who just recently passed, and he was very committed to this village in many ways with many different facets. And so, he was a very strong anchor in this community, and just wanted to recognize him. To Christina Redding and Jim Zahusky, thank you for your many years of service to this village, and we appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much. Trustee Polaro?
Again, thank everyone for coming out tonight. I appreciate the time, the effort that they put into it. Condolences to the families. Thank you, everyone, for your service. And I have nothing further.
Thank you, Trustee Polaro. The item I'd like to add and speak about was, as many of us know, we had a visitor from our governor, as well as from the DEC. Governor Cuomo was here. The head of the DEC, Basil Segos, was here, as well as the head of our region. And what we did, and thank you to Rich and Kim for attending. Mark and Andrew, we'd love to have you there. I know you're out of town, but we did thank you for your help. It was very important to get an access agreement signed, so our entire board processed this late at night.
Here.
Yes, everyone was here. We're thanking them for that. Yes. So, and so this is exciting news because what this is this is the start of a pilot program orchestrated by the Village of Southampton, as well as by New York State and the DEC. We'll be the first body of water to use this new technology, which is created by AECOM, which is an engineering firm. And what this technology does is that it essentially skims and suctions off the toxic blue-green algae off our lake. It then suctions it off into mobile trucks and other devices that are stationed right in Southampton Village. And then it in turns uses technology to remove that toxic algae, create a biomass, and then send the clean water back into our lake. So this is the start of something amazing. This program is going well so far. We hope and expect that the DEC will be back to help us finish this job. This will help us, and in fact potentially clean our lake in the short term. But again, we have to remind ourselves that the lake will continue to be polluted if we continue to put inputs into our lake, which include pesticides and herbicides, nitrogen loading, and runoff. So we can thank Gary Gillespie again for helping us solve that problem, and we're going to push forward even more. But this is extremely exciting to be the first village and the first body of water in New York State to use this new technology. This was done with 100% grant funding from the DEC. A project like this could cost in the range of $1 million or so, not done with the village taxpayer paying for it. Again, we hope to apply for grants and work with this in the future to have the DEC and AECOM come back next summer at the peak of our algae bloom. Trustee, I know you're extremely excited, and I came pretty much every day down to the lake to check it out, and I did want to highlight that every single time I came down, Trustee Stremski was there. I don't know why he gravitated to it so much, but I was there every day, and then every time I got there, Trustee Stremski was there. So I really, that meant a lot, I think, to me and to the village, and I was pleasantly, I guess I was pleasantly surprised, but every day, I mean, that was amazing. So it was great to see you there. And then now that we've got, we're talking about Trustee Yastrzemski, I did want to highlight the fact that we've now passed through the first 100 days here, and we could not have done it without the guidance and the veteran knowledge of Trustee Yastrzemski, as well as Trustee Allen, because basically you've been here longer than everyone else on this board combined. And so without your knowledge and expertise, would have been a rocky road. There's still some time for that, but we really appreciate your help, and Trustee Allen, we appreciate your help as well, and we're all looking forward to learning, more from both of you. So thank you for that. And then on a lighter note, we can mention this in the next meeting as well, but there's the Pets Parade, the Pet Parade right before Halloween. So we hope everybody will attend. And then on a final note, we will let everyone in the village know how we're doing with the nor'easter. I know Chief Cummings was checking on some of our beaches and roads. Everything seems like it's okay right now, but if there are any updates, we will keep everybody posted. But we will hope for the best, and we know that if the best doesn't come, we have a great chief and great DPW departments to help guide us through the storm, no pun intended. So with that said, we can open this up to second.
Oh, now we're in comment.
Anytime.
I was going to remind about if you want to bring the announce a public hearing for the tree legislation.
Sure.
New York action, because we never did announce that to open a public hearing for that and set that.
Thank you.
Schedule the hearing.
So maybe, Russell, you want to lead us in this one?
I will help you in a second. I'll entertain a motion of a resolution to schedule a public hearing on a local law repealing Chapter 107 of the Code of the Village of Southampton in its entirety and replacing it with a new Chapter 107 entitled Trees. And hereby direct that a public hearing be held 6 p.m. prevailing time on Thursday, November 14th, 2019, on a local law repealing Chapter 107 of the Code.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And lastly, too, you mentioned the dog parade, but we have the Ragamuffin too. When is the Ragamuffin for the kids?
That's right.
The 30th, right?
For the humans. When you mentioned the dogs, what about the?
That's the 27th, right?
I also want to remind everyone, because I think everyone has been touched by someone who's been affected by breast cancer, the reminder that it is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. Just keep people in mind.
We should thank the Chamber and Ms. Rudin and Millie Fellingham for putting on the breast cancer tree lighting ceremony, and Julie for reminding everybody. It was a very touching and poignant.
Yeah, that was nice.
Very nice day, and I'm proud of each and every person who was there and for everything they've done for everyone else. So that was lovely. And you should go see it. It's a pretty tree, right outside the Chamber of Commerce, all lit up in pink.
Thank you.
And your wife was there, too.
My mother died of breast cancer, so that's a special thing for me. So.
I'm sorry to hear that.
Anyone else for public comment?
That's right. So if there's a second public comment, if anyone would like to address the board, please come forward. With that said, I'd like to make a motion to adjourn to executive session for the purpose of discussing contractual and personnel matters.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.